It is official. In an absolutely shocking move, the Buffalo Bills, after losing the AFC divisional round to the Denver Broncos, have made a franchise-altering decision. And I'm going to tell you all about what that decision was in just a moment. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bills Digest. Now, a couple days have passed since the Buffalo Bills season ended in heartbreaking fashion to the Denver Broncos, as they get eliminated from the playoffs for yet another season. And after 9 years with Coach Sean McDermott, who has been such a key part of this franchise for so long, whatever your thoughts were on him, he got this franchise out of their 17-season-long playoff drought. He made them into perennial playoff contenders, Super Bowl contenders, but could never get over the hump. And in a historic way, the Buffalo Bills failed to make the Super Bowl despite being the best team by nearly every metric over the last 8 seasons. And as a result, the Bills have made the decision to fire Sean McDermott, according to NFL insiders this morning, in absolutely shocking breaking news. Now, to many Bills fans, this news was a long time coming, and I'm included in this list. I have been hypercritical of Sean McDermott over the years, although it felt like this year was his best year as a head coach in his career, with the roster that he was given and what he was able to do with the roster, including maybe the best playoff game that he has coached in his career against the Jacksonville Jaguars in the wild card round, in which the Bills were nearly flawless defensively, despite injuries, despite, just a terrible circumstance for him. It felt like Sean McDermott was scapegoated a little bit, but at the same time, you go this long and you lose in heartbreaking fashion this many times, you're not going to keep your job more often than not. So we're going to talk all about that, as well as some other head coaching candidates that the Bills could be bringing in. So stay tuned for this one. This is going to be a really interesting video talking about what the future of the Bills may hold, because this is a decision that will likely decide Josh Allen's career. Will he finally get over the hump and win a Super Bowl? Will he not, and be known as the guy that never was able to make it over the hump despite being an absolutely incredible talent at the quarterback position? This is the biggest decision the Bills have made in their franchise's history, in my opinion. Now, before we get into all of that, I do want to point out to you guys that we are just 15 subscribers away from 2,000. So if you're watching this video, if you want to follow along this Bills offseason, what may be the most critical offseason in the franchise's history, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because we will have daily content coming to you guys, as well as breaking news and shocking updates as we get them. So hit that subscribe button, and let's carry on with the video. Well, the overwhelming opinion by Bills fans on Twitter, by many members of the media across the NFL, was that this is the shakeup the Bills absolutely needed to make and have a new voice. Sean McDermott is a great head coach. There is no doubt about that. I know a lot of you guys in the comments would disagree, but if you look around the NFL, you would rather have Sean McDermott than a heck of a lot of guys. Now, he's not by any means the best head coach, but he is a culture changer. He is a really solid defensive head coach that has struggled in the playoffs, and ultimately that is why he is not going to be the head coach of the Buffalo Bills going further. But as soon as this decision was made, the immediate reaction from fans on social media, including myself, was, what does this mean for Brandon Beane, the team's general manager, who really failed to provide a quality team around Josh Allen as they try to chase down that first Super Bowl in franchise history? Well, it was announced today that the Bills general manager, Brandon Beane, will lead Buffalo's search for a new head coach. He is not going anywhere, according to Terry Pegula and sources familiar with the situation. Now, this is a decision that, in my opinion, is far more controversial than the decision to fire Sean McDermott. And I'm not alone in that opinion. You see, that Brandon Beane shouldn't get a pass either. This air raid Buffalo, the Bills guys, big on social media, very active following this team. He played arguably a bigger role in the Bills' inability to get to the Super Bowl than Sean McDermott did. And I'd have to agree, and we can point out multiple reasons why. First off being, this is a big example. The Seahawks have the best wide receiver in the NFL in Jackson Smith-Njigba, and still made the move to trade for Rashid Shaheed. Brandon Beane, meanwhile, looked at Palmer and Samuel and thought, nah, we're good. That is by far the biggest reason why Brandon Beane should be fired. With a team that has a clear window, you have this quarterback who is so good because of his athleticism, his ability to keep plays alive, and you are not able to get him even decent weapons, other than when they had Stephon Diggs. That's really the only thing they have done for him. They completely whiffed on Keon Coleman, and that should have been the end for Brandon Beane. But ultimately, it looks like he convinced Terry Pegula that this was Sean McDermott's fault, not his own. So Brandon Beane has to have a big offseason. He has to be ultra aggressive if he wants to keep his job. Because it wasn't too long ago that Brandon Beane was throwing the Rams under the bus, saying, we're trying to be fiscally responsible to avoid a Rams-like collapse. He is, of course, referring to when the Rams traded for Von Miller, made all these moves at the deadline, had the F them picks slogan, and ended up winning a Super Bowl. Absolutely wild that Brandon Beane said this at any point, considering that the Rams at this state are currently in the NFC Championship game, despite trading all of their picks, despite going all in and winning a Super Bowl, and they still are in a better spot than the Bills were, despite the Bills never even making it to a Super Bowl. So Brandon Beane looking like a real idiot after that claim. And the question now becomes, who do the Bills pivot to? And this is probably the point in the video you guys may have skipped to. Who do the Bills go to hire in this next coaching cycle? Well, noted Bills commentator, radio host Sal Capaccio says he believes the Bills can only go one of two ways. Either a head coach who has already won a Super Bowl, or the brightest, possibly young offensive mind. Any other coach is going to be a tough sell for fans and feel very similar to Sean McDermott. And I think Capaccio's right. The only thing is, I don't know how many coaches who have already won a Super Bowl are available and also make sense. Obviously, you could look at a guy like Bill Belichick at UNC, but I think Bills fans would riot in the streets of Buffalo if Bill Belichick were brought to the Buffalo Bills. Another more feasible option, although the rumor is that he is not going to coach this season, is Mike Tomlin, who has won a Super Bowl in the past with the Pittsburgh Steelers years and years ago with Ben Roethlisberger in his prime. That could be a decision the Bills make, although a lot of fans, I think, would think that is more of a lateral move from Sean McDermott. Although Mike Tomlin does have the Super Bowl under his belt, he has failed to get it done for many years, despite always having a winning record. The Bills are not looking for that. They're looking to win a Super Bowl. Another name that has been floated around and was originally mentioned in offensive coordinating duties was Brian Daboll, who was previously the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen has gone on record saying Brian Daboll's a guy that shaped Allen's career, has really changed his life on and off of the field. I would not be shocked if this is a move the Bills make, although I would be disappointed because I am worried by what Daboll can bring. Obviously, with the Giants, it was a nearly impossible situation to be in. But we'll see. I could be talked into this. I could also be disappointed because there are lots of other guys in the coaching cycles that I think are higher ceiling hires, but maybe higher risk as well. Now, let's get to some of those options, and I'll start with a defensive coordinator who has been in the head coaching cycle but has not gotten a job for years now, and he's someone that lost the job to Brian Daboll with the New York Giants, and that is the Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores, who has been one of the top head coaching candidates for years but has not landed a job. The Minnesota Vikings defense has been remarkable with, maybe not the best talents, but Brian Flores has really done a phenomenal job with that defense. The only problem there is I think a lot of fans do not want the Bills to bring in a defensive head coach. They want to bring in an offensive-minded guy when you have a guy like Josh Allen. That could be debated, but let's look at some of those options and who I think have the best chance of being hired by the Buffalo Bills. The first one is a little bit under the radar, and that is Mike LaFleur, who is currently the offensive coordinator with the Los Angeles Rams, and although he is not the main play caller because Sean McVay is the head coach, this is a guy that is still young. He is under 40 years old, known as, under the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, worked as a passing game coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers years back, was also the New York Jets head coach in 2021-22, which, I don't think that's very notable just because nobody from the Jets has been successful. That is going to be the biggest thing with the Buffalo Bills is, can they get an offensive mind to come in and change the trajectory of this team? And that leads us to who I think is probably the best head coaching candidate in the entire cycle across the NFL, and that is Clint Kubiak, who is the offensive coordinator currently with the Seattle Seahawks. He is a reason why I think the Bills may have, been okay with waiting to make a decision at head coach, and why they were okay with firing Sean McDermott, because Kubiak was not going to get hired yet since his team is still in the playoffs. He has done an incredible job with the Seattle Seahawks and Sam Darnold. He has had them in a position where their offense is clicking on all gears in the running game, in the passing game, despite not having the best quarterback in Sam Darnold. This is a Seattle Seahawks team that, in my opinion, is the favorite to win the Super Bowl this season. I think Clint Kubiak is the most likely, or should be the most likely decision for the Buffalo Bills if they want to really maximize this window with Josh Allen, James Cook, and a Buffalo Bills offense that is in desperate need of an overhaul. If Brandon Beane is smart, he will bring in Clint Kubiak. But let me know in the comments, guys, who do you think should be the next head coach for the Buffalo Bills? Should they go with a guy like Mike Tomlin, who has lots of experience, or Brian Daboll, who has been with the organization? Or should they look for a young offensive mind? That's where I tend to look towards, but be sure to subscribe. Let's get to 2,000 subscribers, and we'll see you next time here on Bills Digest.